Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Mark. I'm a certified health coach, and this is Teresa. She's a board certified family nurse practitioner, and we're both with Total Health and Wellness. We like to talk about hormones, metabolic health, and everything in between. So, speaking of metabolic health, we wanted to talk a little bit tonight about social situations and stuff. Probably a lot of you who've been doing low carb, keto, carnivore have run into these situations before when you go to a social event and you feel kind of out of place because of the way you're eating, or maybe you're going to an event and there's alcohol involved and you're not, because of your way of eating, you're not doing that. So we're going to talk a little bit about strategies to help you with that tonight. But before we do that, I'm going to show you guys what we're having for dinner.
Can I say something really quick?
Sure.
LowCarb USA. Don't forget to sign up. San Diego, LowCarb USA, San Diego in August.
Yes.
I shared it on my page on Facebook, but you can go to their website, which is lowcarb.org. And
LowCarbUSA.org.
That's what I meant. And sign up virtually or in person.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys there. Okay, so for dinner tonight, hopefully you guys can see. Okay, I almost lost my bacon on that one. Okay, so tonight our main course is going to be the New York strip. I put some Kerrygold butter on top of mine, and I also got some of this really delicious flaked cheese. So there's a mixture of cheeses in here. I'll just zoom in so you guys can read the kind of cheeses. But yeah, it might be backwards, but you guys can figure it out. All right, and then I also like to put Jane's Crazy Seasoning on it, but that's the main course. And then I've also got some bacon here on the plate because we do bacon pretty much every single night. Teresa loves bone-in chicken wings. So one of our favorite butcher shops is, sorry, I'm like halfway out of the camera.
I didn't even know.
Sorry, guys. One of our favorite butcher shops is Harder House here in Springfield. And so they have some really good chicken wings, and Teresa cooks those in the air fryer along with the bacon. And then we've got scrambled eggs, which is typical for us just about every night as well. And then do you want to talk to them about, we have rosettes?
Yeah, rosettes dough mix. And so usually I make them on Sundays and I make them in a bagel pan, but today I just flattened it ugly like and just baked it. And I put Jane's Crazy and I put rosettes, everything bagel seasoning. Yeah,
and then we put some butter and some Jane's Crazy on it. I always put extra Jane's Crazy on there just in case. But I think you cooked it on a stone tonight, right?
Yeah, I cooked it on a stone.
Yeah, right on. All right,
stone that's not used for cookies anymore.
Right. Yeah, we haven't cooked cookies on those in a long time. Lots of other stuff, but not cookies. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, talking about the social situations. So one thing we like to do, and I think we mentioned this just earlier this week or last week, was talking about when you're going out to eat specifically. And this is actually also helpful when you go to the grocery store. You don't like to go to the grocery store hungry, but we also don't like to go to restaurants hungry either, because one, you can save money by not ordering appetizers if you're not as hungry when you go to a restaurant. But if you're going to go to a restaurant as a social event with friends, you don't want to order some stuff that you probably don't want to be eating on your carnivore, your low carb, or your keto. You can actually preload ahead of time. So if you say eat like what we like to do is get like a leftover hamburger, and we'll typically eat that an hour to an hour and a half before we actually go out to dinner. If it's going to be a big dinner and it's going to be a social type event. And so we just call that preloading. And the fat and the protein is very satiating, so you won't feel as hungry when you go. So you're less likely to indulge in alcohol at the restaurant. You're less likely to indulge with appetizers, which appetizers tend to be a lot less healthy than even the main courses are there, or the dishes. And then I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, and then you'll actually probably eat a little bit less food, so you'll get a smaller plate when you go there. But in any case, we did this with a Christmas party that we did one year. This was early on.
When we were first starting,
we were trying to get, we were just trying different things. And so we were going out to an expensive restaurant. We had multiple people coming because it was a Christmas party for the office, and we were going to be paying for it. So when we went, we had a burger. Each of us had one single ground beef burger about an hour before we left. And by the time we got there, we didn't feel like appetizers. We didn't order alcohol. And we just had our main course while we were there. Now, some of the other people did, but honestly, we probably saved, a couple $100 at the end of the night based on eating less. And I think other people around us felt like eating less as well because we weren't eating and indulging as well.
Yeah, so, well, I just think alcohol lowers your inhibition. So if you're drinking and you're out with your girlfriends, then it's like you nibble on this, you nibble on that, you order a dessert, and then it just gets out of hand.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things you can do when you go out to a social event where people are drinking, especially if it's a party or something like that, Super Bowl, whatever it is, if you're walking around and you don't have a drink cup in your hand, like you're partaking in some sort of a drink, you're going to be getting all night why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking? So I have a solution for you guys. get a red Solo cup, right? Get one of those cheap red Solo cups and carry it with you, put water in it, and no one will say a word to you. They maybe ask you what you're drinking, but a lot less people are going to approach you and say, why aren't you drinking? Why don't you have a cup in your hand? Why aren't you partaking in what we're partaking in? And like Teresa mentioned, when you go to these parties, oftentimes there's food, and some of the food is probably less healthy. So when you drink alcohol, there's a lot of negative effects from that. One of the big negative effects while you're drinking it is the lack of inhibition. As you start to get that buzz, you're just like, oh, well, I'll just have a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Yeah. And how does that always work out? It turns into a lot of bit of this and a lot of bit of that. So the inhibition goes away. The other big thing for me anyway that I hate about alcohol, and I don't use that word a lot, hate, but what I really dislike about alcohol is how it affects your sleep. Yeah. Because there is probably no bigger, more profound thing you can do for your health than sleep good. Yeah. Minimum of 7 hours, preferably 8. And I mean, there's all kinds of research on sleep and how detrimental lack of sleep is. We don't have time to get into it tonight, but just to give you an example, if you have one bad night of sleep, it doesn't matter what you do the next day. So when I say bad night, around 4 or 5 hours, if you could exercise the next day, you could be drinking water all day and hydrating. You can be, going to the gym and eating low carb. It doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to erase the negative effects of the bad night's sleep you had before. Yeah. So that's a huge detriment when you're not sleeping well. Yeah. So what do you want to add to that?
The word hate we reserve for Satan.
Okay.
That's all. No, I think that's good. I think in the beginning, these are good things to do. I think when you get far enough along, kind of like where we are, it's a little bit different. And it is strange because you could have eaten for the first 40 years of your life, Pop-Tarts and hot Cheetos and Mountain Dew and you name it, oatmeal cream pies, Ho-Hos and Twinkies, and no one says anything. But the second you stop drinking or you change the way you're eating, people are all over you. This isn't sustainable. I don't know why you're doing this. What fad is this? It's really bizarre.
Or even if you go out to eat with friends and for us, it would be, I went to Longhorn yesterday and all I got was literally some steak and there was a little bit of broccoli. It was lunchtime. So there's one side and they asked me if I wanted a salad. I didn't want a salad. And I just got broccoli on the side and I only got a little bit. And of the little bit I got, I ate, a couple of florets or whatever you want to call them. But I had a big porterhouse with that, and that's what I ate. And so it's been more than one time that I've been out to eat with people, and they're like, "What are you doing? All you're going to eat is a steak?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's absolutely all I'm going to eat. This is going to fill me up, not to the point where I'm going to throw up or feel bad or feel tired and need nappy time afterwards or bloated or anything. But I'm going to feel full, and I'm in a few hours. I'm not going to be hungry again. So when you eat a bunch of carbs, you just end up getting hungry again. So
yeah, I thought of something, but maybe I need hormones. That thought is gone.
Yeah. Well, did you have a case study you wanted to talk about tonight?
Okay, so this case study, this is a 37-year-old female, and she had been all over the place, and more recently back to her GYN, and she said, something is wrong. I would like for you to check my hormones. And the GYN said, quote, you are too young for hormone issues. I just got her labs back, and I was going over her chart for tomorrow. And I diagnosed her with PCOS. So I diagnosed PCOS one way. There's many ways. And even if this is not positive, doesn't mean they don't have PCOS, but she has it. It's striking. It's there. When your LH, luteinizing hormone, is more than double your FSH, the follicle stimulating hormone. So if LH is 2-to-1, that's diagnostic. If it's 3-to-1 of the FSH, usually that's pathologic, which just means they're feeling symptoms. Okay. So on this woman's blood work, even had that GYN tested anything. So PCOS at the root cause is insulin resistance. Her A1C, which is corporate medicine's diagnostic test for diabetes, her A1C was 4.9. I want 5.0 and below. This is magnificent. They'd stop right there. They would just say, everything is fine. You do not have insulin resistance. Her fasting glucose is 96. The corporate medicine lab ranges for fasting glucose is 99 and below. So she was 96. It's perfect. Her fasting insulin was 9.6. Not terrible. Corporate medicine lab ranges let you go to 18.4 on Quest before they get excited. So she's 9.6. I want 3 to 5 and below. But when I went on to the Google and Googled the HOMA-IR score, and I put in her fasting glucose and her fasting insulin, her HOMA-IR, which is her insulin resistance score, is 2.3. So that means she has moderate insulin resistance. And I buy that moderate because she's only 37. So what's going to happen at 47? And then at 57? So 47, she'll be a pre-diabetic. Maybe not on the A1C because that is a really low A1C. But all that to say, you have to know better to do better. You have to advocate for yourself. And in my opinion, you got to stay out of these systems that are insurance-based models because they don't recognize root cause. They don't recognize the whole body. They don't want to see things coming. It's like I can see things like a train coming down the tracks, blaring down for insulin resistance. And you want to prevent that because that creates cancers, fatty liver, mental stuff, blood pressure, hypertension is 95% of the time an insulin issue. Eat your salt, cut out your insulin, your blood pressure will go down. So
stuff. So do you think that because of her age, her younger age, she's able to cope?
She's compensating
a little bit better. Yeah.
She's compensating, and she'll probably get away with this. I would say another 15 years, she'll get away with this. But these are the people, which I can't remember, I didn't write it down, but these are the people that have gestational diabetes, so diabetes while pregnant. And speaking of pregnancy, this is just very random. If you do low carb and you're pregnant, at a certain time, the OB wants to do that gross oral glucose tolerance test, the OGTT, where they feed you chemically filled orange sugary drink, which is disgusting, and it's 100 grams of carbs-ish, and they want to see how your insulin responds. If you're low carb, you are most likely going to fail that, but it will be erroneous because you don't have the small little, I forget what it is. It's like, I don't even know, 5 cc's of insulin stored in your body, ready to react. When you're low carb like that, after so long, your body says, man, she really doesn't need this little bit of insulin. So that first stage of insulin goes away. So you have to wait for your second stage. It's not like your body's going to forget what it's supposed to do. It will happen. It'll just be slower. So you'll get that second phase of insulin release and your sugar will be fine. But on that glucose tolerance test, you most likely will fail it and they'll call you a diabetic when you're clearly not. Anyway, that test is gross because you're just drinking chemicals and sugar. It's nasty. But anyway, that's just an aside.
Gotcha. So you think maybe 10 or 15 years of compensating for this, and then it actually begins to show up.
Yes.
But then at that point, it's not too late, but there's a problem.
Right. Well, because she's 37 here, her HOMA-IR score is 2.3. We know something is amiss. Plus, she has PCOS. I don't care what your labs show. PCOS sets you up for diabetes later on. So we have to watch all that. But if you're only watching the A1C, you're never going to see your insulin rise because you aren't looking for it. I had a patient who's trying to get her pastors in to see me, and I guess he's a diabetic. And a long time ago, I talked to her, and I was like, he needs an insulin level. He's pre-diabetic. He needs an insulin level and all this stuff. She messaged me the other day, and she said his primary did glucose but refused to do insulin and said there's no reason for it. There's no something. And a lot of people call it experimental. I've had patients tell me their doctors say it's woo-woo.
Woo-woo, huh?
It's not. It's healthy.
Right on.
That's all.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. So hopefully this was helpful information for you. If you need anything as far as a provider who works in the hormone or low carb field, there's links in the description and a comment section on depending upon which social media platform you're using. So check those out. And otherwise, we're going to wrap it up there. As always, we love you
so much.
God bless you. We'll see you all next time. And don't forget, food matters.
Bye.
Bye, guys.